All right, Lamar Asmo video. Here we go. And also, this will be a Great Society Ministries video. We're going to talk about theological matters on this one. But on the side note, it looks like the British released the oil tanker, the Iranian oil tanker, despite everyone's favorite swamp creature that Donald Trump, another one of his many promises he reneged on. John Bolton went to the United Kingdom to try to get the ship turned over to the United States. Now, how disgraceful is that? They want to take other people's oil that they could otherwise trade for. I'm pretty sure the Iranians would trade with the United States if this country gave it, I guess you could say, equitable trade, or, I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't, because when the sanctions were lifted on paper by Obama, most of the business, if not all of it, was going to be done with the United Kingdom. So, this is another tenuous situation. It's touch and go. We'll wait and see. What I think is going to happen is now the British are going to play the good cop, bad cop role. They're going to release it, but who's to say that the tanker doesn't get hijacked again, but this time by the U.S. Marines or the racist thugs out of Tel Aviv? Who knows what's going to happen? We'll wait and see. I think the ship's going to be hijacked again. I could be wrong about that. Because the Iranians also made a promise to the quasi-independent government in Gibraltar that they would not, that the oil wasn't intended for Syria. And it's crazy that, Iran can't trade with Syria, seeing as how they're allies and how, despite the Rothschild-controlled West having sanctions on Syria and Iran, why do they have to impose their will to not do business with these countries on other countries? Again, you have this necessity of force when it comes to capitalism. And again, capitalism, just like Marxist socialism, works in favor of the tribe. But let's get into what we're going to talk about. One of the things I set out to do with Great Society Ministries is to minimize the spell that, the demon lord Yahweh has captivated humanity with. And one of the ways to do that is to undermine this whatever authority that's left in the Bible. And before I get into that, I want to say that there are good elements within the Bible. There are verses and chapters that I like, but there are a lot more verses and chapters that I do not like, which is hence why I'm not Christian. And ditto, definitely. But I'm not Jewish, but that's by virtue of birth. According to them, no matter what they tell you, they're matrilineal, and they attach their religion to their ethnicity. I don't know why they do that, but that's just what they do. So if you do convert to their religion, I don't think they take you seriously, but I could be mistaken about that, but I doubt it. So now, you have contradicting accounts, especially in the Old Testament, of events, of the same events in several places. So how many years was the famine supposed to last as punishment for David's census? And before we get into, I keep saying before we get, I need to cut that out, but David, in one verse, God orders him not to take a census, but then in another, God does order him to take the census, but then they go on to say that it was actually Satan that told him to number Israel or something to that effect. So we have a problem there. Was he or was he not supposed to do a census? And was it God or Satan that told him to do the census? I think that Yahweh, that the Judaic or the Judeo-fascists, their God is synonymous with Satan because of his actions and his supposed hate and wanting to harm and displace other people, and his inability, according to their own book, to get rid of the Amalekites because they had chariots of iron. So there's your omnipotence for their God. But anyway, so 2 Samuel 24:13 says the famine was to last 7 years, while 1 Chronicles 21:12 says the famine was to last 3 years. Okay, so there's a contradiction there, and it's one of those things where it's either or. Which one you can't say for sure. And while I'm on this subject, that's why there's so many denominations within, especially Christianity, because different people read the Bible and take totally different things away from it, or they emphasize certain verses over others, or they interpret verses differently. Hence why you have so many denominations. I saw a Catholic apologist say that at last count there were over 56,000 denominations of Protestantism. So, okay, anyway, let's continue on. How much did David pay for the property he bought, and was it gold or silver? 2 Samuel 24:24 says David paid 50 shekels of silver for the property. 1 Chronicles 21:25 said David paid 600 shekels of gold for the property. How many stables did Solomon have? 1 Kings 4:26, Solomon had 40,000 stables. 2 Chronicles 9:25, Solomon had 400 stables. So there you go again. How many governors did Solomon have? 1 Kings 5:16. So 1 Kings 5:16, Solomon had 3,300 governors. 2 Chronicles 2:2, Solomon had 3,600 governors. So it's a 300 governor difference. And why he needed so many governors for so small of a territory. And as a matter of fact, the Israelis never controlled even the present day, even the 1948 boundaries of Israel. The ancient Israelis or the Hebrews never even controlled that. That territory was known as retinue, and it was always, or for most of the time, it was a province of Egypt that they used the Canaanites as middlemen to govern. That's according to historical research and archaeology. And then you'll get some people who say, well, these could be mistakes by copyists over the thousands of years. And if that's the case, that still means that this book is not a perfect book, it's not infallible, and it's not the Word of God, because the Word of God has apparently been corrupted and been mistakenly translated. Or anyway, moving along. How high were the columns of the temple? The columns were 18 cubits high in 1 Kings 7:15. In 2 Chronicles 3:15, the columns were 35 cubits high. So one says 18 cubits, the other one says 35. And these aren't round numbers, but they're exact measurements. How many baths of water did the temple basin hold? 1 Kings 7:26, the basin held 2,000 baths of water. 2 Chronicles 4:5, the basin held 3,000 baths of water. So despite being round numbers, they still represent a significant difference. A bath was about 6 gallons according to the English Standard Version translators. So this similarity would be 6,000 gallons. How many chief officers did Solomon have? 1 Kings 9:23. Solomon had 550 chief officers. 2 Chronicles 8:10. Solomon had 250 chief officers. How many talents of gold were brought back from Ophir? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's Ophir. 1 Kings 9:28, 420 talents of gold were brought back from Ophir. And 2 Chronicles 8:18, 450 talents of gold were brought back from Ophir. When did King Baasha die? So 1 Kings 16, 6 through 8 said Baasha died in the 26th year of Asa's reign. 2 Chronicles 16:1, Baasha attacked Judah in the 36th year of Asa's reign. 10 years after kings claim he died. So that's a hell of a feat. And it kind of diminishes the resurrection, I guess, miracle of some of these other individuals. So apparently either this guy died in the 26th year or he didn't. But in any case, 10 years after, he supposedly attacked someone. When did the two kings named Joram be? Wait a minute, excuse me. When did the two kings named Joram begin to reign? 2 Kings 1:17. Joram, the son of Ahab, became the king in the second year of Joram, the son of Jehoshaphat. 2 Kings 8:16. Joram, the son of Jehoshaphat, became the king in the 5th year of Joram, son of Ahab. And then you get some people who say, well, it was a co-regency and, they ruled simultaneously, but it still doesn't reduce the conflict of the dates. But anyway, so how old was Ahaziah when he began to reign? 2 Kings 8:26 says Ahaziah was 22 when he began to reign, while 2 Chronicles 22:2, Ahaziah was 42 when he began to reign. So I'm going to conclude this video here, but these are some simple, I guess you could say, contradictions and errors that when you can really consider it, that means that this book isn't infallible, which means that people, at the very least, people shouldn't take it as seriously as they do. Again, there are some good aspects of the Bible, but there's more negative. In my estimation, there's more negative than positive. But that's it for now. God willing, to see you in a future video. Thanks for watching.